Hey everybody, this is Brad Bruce and I'm here with
Jase Marsaglia.
And you're listening to the 5195 podcast.
Hey!
You went ahead and did it.
I did it anyway.
It's okay. It's earned.
There's some B-roll footage.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back. It's awesome being here, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome hearing the show the way it should be heard again.
It's nice.
It is.
It's nice. And I figure since we're doing this, we might as well just jump in with something fun.
Yeah, man. It's been a while since we've done kind of a fun little list kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And people seem to dig those shows, the little list comparisons.
And you came up with a pretty fun one.
Yeah. I mean, it was something we talked about a while back. It's a good opportunity to throw some bombs.
Yeah.
Because people are not going to agree with a lot of shit. But sequels, horror sequels in particular.
Okay.
That are better than the original. Not many.
No, there isn't many.
It's not a genre that's known for having good sequels.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, on my list, there's only, I would say, one real horror one. And then maybe like a couple of sci-fi.
Should I have made that a caveat? I didn't know if you were just talking in general.
I mean, I think it's just something that...
It does cast a wider net.
It does. But I mean, I figured just to get it going, I'm sure we can visit the segment again on another show, you know?
Of course.
I think maybe these are just the ones that just stand out to us at the moment.
At the moment, yes. These were the 5 I was able to kind of slap together in the 15 minutes since we decided to do this episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just like, you know what? I can come up with this, this, and this.
Well, if you want to go first...
You want me to go ahead and take a header?
Go for it.
I'm going to start with a very obvious one.
Okay.
Evil Dead 2.
God damn it! Okay.
Too obvious, right? I mean, come on. It's on everybody's list.
It's on my list.
It's one of those that, to me... I love the original. Mm-hmm. It's just a terrifying movie. I love Army of Darkness. It's a funny fucking movie. Evil Dead 2 has the scares of the original with the comedy of the third. It's the perfect blend. It's the crown jewel of that trilogy, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So we don't even have to waste a whole lot of time on that one. To me, it was the most obvious.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is one of the best horror sequels of all time.
It is.
Period.
Yeah.
Bruce has never been funnier. The mayhem in the cabin has never been more mayhemy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's full of... There's actual solid jump scares in that movie for a movie that's mostly funny.
Right.
I mean, it is mostly funny. One thing that I always wondered about, though, because I saw them... I never watched the Evil Dead trilogy in sequence. Because when I was a kid, a buddy of mine had brought over... Army of Darkness.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea it was part of the third in a series. And the thing was, I only knew Bruce Campbell at the time from his show, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., which I was a huge fan of. It was great. So I was already a fan of Bruce Campbell. When Army of Darkness hit the scene, I was like, it's Briscoe.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get to see it at the theater. A buddy of mine brought it over. I laughed my fucking ass off. And I remember telling, I believe it was my Uncle Mike... Good old Uncle Mike.
Yep.
And he goes, oh, you saw one of the Evil Dead movies. And I was like, Evil Dead? And he goes, yeah, Army of Darkness is the third in a series. And I'm like, there's 2 more of these? And I had to get my hands on them, you know.
Yeah.
But what was funny was at the time, this was so pre-DVD and all that.
Uh-huh.
Evil Dead 1 and 2 were hard to find movies. It seems weird to say now because it's just oversaturated. It's everywhere.
Right.
But... Evil Dead 1 and 2 were still considered NC-17 really hardcore horror movies that usually I only ever saw like at trade centers where people were selling tapes.
Yeah.
And a buddy of my Uncle Mike's had them both. And because they were so rare, instead of loaning them to me, he was like, I'll dub you some copies. I said, okay. That way I can just watch them.
Yeah.
And here's what's funny. I went back to the first one expecting to laugh. And it's fucking scary. It was so scary. I was terrified of the original Evil Dead to the point where when I popped in Evil Dead 2, I was nervous.
Wow, really?
Because now I'm like, I didn't expect to be scared. I thought it was going to be goofy like Army of Darkness was. Because the thing is, Army of Darkness, I think, is a gateway movie for a lot of people because kids can watch it pretty much. It's not that bad. But it was the only Evil Dead movie to get a wide release. The other ones were kind of limited releases and, cult hits. But I had no fucking idea. But yeah, Evil Dead 2, couldn't believe how hard I was laughing. The makeup, the gore, all of it. Phenomenal. It's just a great fucking movie.
I totally agree with you. I feel the same way even about Evil Dead. I didn't see it in the theater.
The what do you
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead 1?
Yeah, Evil Dead 1. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on VHS.
Have you seen it at the theater subsequently?
I have.
Okay,
I
me
have.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it in I want to say it was in the New Bev.
Okay, because I know it just celebrated its 40th a couple years ago.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was able to see it with a Bruce Campbell hosting kind of thing.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw it on VHS. And the same thing as you was like, this is a scary movie.
Did you watch them in order?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
yeah.
had no prior context.
Yeah. Evil Dead 2 wasn't out. And Evil Dead was out. You know, it was newly
Right.
out on VHS. And,
Yeah.
you know, we had a mom and pop, you know, video store by us, and they carried all of the obscure or like, you know, limited release titles, you know,
Yep.
because the couple that owned it were crazy cinephiles.
Which
you know?
is the type of people you want to run a store like
and
that.
they were really a mom and pop because they were an older couple that just loved film.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter what it was. They never shit on anything.
Nice.
And they were also like, I don't care how old you are. You need to watch this movie.
No kidding.
So it was, I was able to rent it with a couple of friends, Evil Dead,
Yeah.
you know, and we took it home and, you know, I watched it and I didn't know what to expect
Yeah.
because I didn't know too much about it, you know, at
So
the time.
you hadn't followed its progression in Fango or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
I didn't.
Because it was a big Fango
It definitely was.
thing.
So yeah, watching it, I was like, holy fuck, this is pretty scary.
It was
you know?
really nuts.
Like, I mean, just those camera shots, you know, with going through the forest, that's...
Just raging
Yeah,
through the forest
terrifying,
on such a
'cause-
low budget.
And I think that was more effective than had they shown what it was.
And they do in the second one.
They do in the second one, but it's like, that's what was so scary about it, because it was like, in my mind, I was creating something way worse than what I saw in part 2.
Agreed. Yeah, in part 2, it was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know?
So when 2 came out, I made sure we found a way to watch it in the theater.
Okay.
And so we did, we went to LA and watched it, and I was expecting the scares.
Yeah.
And I was met with something completely different. Because it was the same setup. It looked the same.
Some people even go so far as to call it a requel. And
Okay.
I don't know if I'm part of that camp.
I can see it to a degree because, and maybe they're associating that with what I just said, is how similar it is to the first one.
And the fact that it's a recap without 2 or 3 characters, people are like, why is he dumb enough to go back?
Right.
And it's like, it's not. They just didn't have the rights to recap the way like a Back to the Future would. It wasn't in-house.
You could tell the
anymore.
shoestring budget.
Yeah. But it was just, I remember being terrified of the first one and going into the second one with some trepidation because I'm like, that first one was no joke.
Yeah.
I expected Army of Darkness, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, the last 2 I did see in the theater.
Yeah. Honestly, to this day, even with re-releases and everything, I want to say Evil Dead 2, even being my favorite, is the only one I've not seen at the theater.
Oh, wow. Really?
I've been able to go see the other ones at different functions, you know, and I'd love to see Evil Dead 2 and just break the trilogy.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. I mean, that's one of mine was Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. To me, it was just an obvious one to get out of the way.
Yeah. Well, I have an obvious one.
Okay.
That I'm going to get out of the way. And I know this is on everyone's list, and I shouldn't even say it, but I'm like, I don't fucking care. And that's T2.
Yeah. Amazing movie. Amazing movie.
The first one it's revolutionary.
It is. And I stand by this. The first one is more of a horror movie.
Oh, definitely. Very violent.
He's Michael Myers. I mean, he will not
He's a
stop.
machine Michael Myers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a ruthless movie. Whereas the second one is just a shot of adrenaline from the get. And
Yeah. It's very polished. It's very fun. Obviously, those groundbreaking special effects, you know, the visual effects. Like, yeah, it was, and it was funny because I saw it in the theater in 91 here in California. And then we had went on vacation. We were in another state and I found out that it was playing there as well. So me and my cousin had went and saw it again. And oh my God, it was so much fun.
it is. And
For me, even though, you know, Commando and all these other movies were out, I think it really solidified Arnold as like this, he's the Terminator.
yes.
You know, like he's this badass. And I love it because, you know, he didn't kill anyone.
No, he
in
really
the
didn't.
second one. He
Nope.
didn't.
He gives everyone a lot of kneecaps and, even the biker, he just kind of tosses the guy around and takes his clothes,
Yeah. It had a lot of heart. It was written really well.
Unexpected amount.
Exactly.
Because that's literally Terminator 2 is probably the example of the best sequel to a film ever. Because you took what worked in the original and you kicked it higher into the air.
Yeah.
You made everything that you loved about the previous film valid. Again, having talked about Back to the Future so much on this show, I'm a time travel snob. And when you watch the movie, it's airtight. Makes complete sense. I can't say the same for 3 Beyond.
Yeah.
But those first 2 are like airtight.
In my opinion,
logistically.
I only care about the first 2.
I've seen the rest, and some of them are more fun than others, but
Yeah.
Nothing really blows your mind. And why would you want to stand in the shadow of the second one?
Right.
So,
we're not going to, we did our Evil Dead 2 together.
Mine's in the same vein, because it's also Cameron. Aliens.
God damn it.
Is that on your list too?
Sure is.
Son of a bitch.
Sure is.
It's going to be a fucking short episode.
It really is.
And that one I hem and haw about.
Okay.
Only because, to me, both the first and the second are perfection. The first one is absolutely terrifying. Second one is absolutely terrifying, but exciting.
Yeah.
Like, the second one is an action horror film.
It is an action horror film.
It's every bit as scary as the first one, just more in your face. It's like a heavy metal version of the first movie.
Yeah.
That's one that, to me, Aliens, just when you think it's over, you have an entirely additional finale with the Queen, which is by far one of the scariest movie monsters ever created.
Oh, agreed.
Stan Winston just fucking killed it with that. I've never been more intimidated by any alien in either the Alien Predator franchises than the Queen. When they revealed the Queen at the end of the second one, I shouldn't even say the end, because when you get to that point, it's got about a half hour left of carnage. And just what a marvel of special effects. And it's just so fucking terrifying. But yeah, Aliens is another obvious. But
it is.
Cameron, granted, Terminator 2 was a sequel to his own.
Right.
But to come into something already established by someone else and practically beat him at his own game, Jesus.
It's pretty impressive.
Extremely.
Pretty impressive. So we agree.
I would go out on a limb and say that my next couple, we probably don't have any of them.
I think I'm going to say the same thing, because I only have 2 left now because of that.
Okay. And then I'm going to save the one for the end for you to punch me out.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'll go next. The first one is very it's just classic for sure, but the second one, I think in the same vein of like the Evil Dead series, is that it was established already, so now they can have fun with it.
Okay.
And that was Mad Max: The Road Warrior.
Okay.
Okay, because the first one it's very raw, gritty.
Yes.
Not a lot of dialogue. It's more visual. And it's just story developing of the post-apocalyptic world and what's going on, search for gas and all this shit. But with the Road Warrior, you got to see these band of these bandits. And just how violent they were. And Vernon Wells is
he was
fucking
nuts.
top notch,
scary.
And luckily enough, I had the pleasure one time of Felissa Rose brought Vernon down to the studio, and they were scouting for a location, and they were looking for a spot to film. And so I was able to have a nice little one-on-one in my office with Vernon, just talking about the Road Warrior.
Yeah,
and he was very open to discuss how he did not want to do it.
Really,
I don't want to do it. He's like, yeah, I didn't want to do it at all. And it was just so cool just to hear these fucking stories. Vernon's such an awesome guy.
Yeah.
God, I fucking love that dude. He's so fucking cool. So I was more drawn, even though I love Mad Max, I was more drawn to Vernon's character in The Road Warrior.
Yeah. Well, he's so animated.
Yeah. Like Aliens, it's more of a running and gunning action movie.
Yeah.
But it's got a good plot. It's got a good story. The action sequences are fucking awesome. I think it just like, it does blow the first one away.
Which leads me to another question then, because I know how much of a fan you are of Thunderdome. Mm-hmm. Does it top Thunderdome?
No.
Okay.
But it does top the original.
Do you think Thunderdome tops the original as well?
Definitely.
So for you, it's a 2-3-1.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Again, it's just one of those things where it just spoke to me as a little kid. Mm-hmm. It was a live action cartoon.
Yeah.
As to where the first one is like you really had to pay attention to the story. Because there was a story there.
You're introducing this world.
Yeah.
Whereas the second one, it's like, you know where you are.
Pin was pulled.
Let's go.
Yeah. So that I had more fun with the Road Warrior.
I need to revisit those because
you really do.
I haven't seen any of them in years.
Really?
Years.
I've seen them all. They're all good, even the new ones.
Okay.
They are good. But yeah, there's nothing like Road Warrior and Thunderdome for me.
Sure. Thunderdome I've probably seen the most just because it used to be on TV.
It gets a lot of play.
Got a lot of airplay.
Yeah, it definitely does.
But to watch them in sequence with new eyes, mm-hmm. I need to do that one day.
Yeah.
This one's kind of a deep cut. Ouija, Origins of Evil.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now, have you seen it?
Yes.
Do you not like it?
No, I do.
Okay.
I do.
That one's Mike Flanagan, who, in my opinion, can do no wrong so far.
Yeah.
At first, when it came out, I almost thought it was the same as, like, what do you call it? The Haunting in Connecticut 2, Ghosts of Georgia, where I'm like, why did you even name 2 states if it takes place in Georgia? But it was just one of those deals where I'm like, is this just a completely unrelated Ouija movie? Mm-hmm. And they did tie it into the first one. First one was all right, Me being a Witchboard fan, you're not going to top Witchboard.
No way.
Sorry. But Ouija was okay. When this one came out, I wasn't even cognizant of Mike Flanagan yet.
Okay.
But I remember watching it and just being like, this is fucking creepy. Way creepy. Creepy kid. Good jump scares. Fucking white translucent eyes. I'm like, this isn't like the first one at all.
Right.
And, that one's just kind of a throwaway one I put in there because the first one was like a popcorn movie. Mm-hmm. Second one, I was like, oh, you came to work.
Yeah.
This one's scary. All right. And I took note of Flanagan. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started looking back and going, oh, I did see this. Oh, he did this? Oh, my God, Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
It was one of those deals where I was like, a name to watch. Mm-hmm. So that's one, just kind of a weird deep cut one.
When did that one come out?
There's a part of me that wants to say 16.
Okay.
Because I want to say Ouija 1 was 13.
Yeah.
There was a couple years between the two. But yeah, that one was just kind of a throwaway one I thought of. Mm-hmm. This one I stand by hard.
Your last one?
No, second to last.
Okay.
Friday the 13th 7. I know it's way down the line. It's way down there. It's a 7. Okay?
Definitely.
But I fucking love that one above all other Friday the 13th movies.
Why?
Mostly, because here's the thing. I get it. If you take away what I'm about to say,
okay,
it's a standard Jason movie. Horny teenagers, they get killed. Let's move on. It's the first one with Kane. Mm-hmm. And it's the first time Jason ever seemed pissed. Like, he seemed annoyed that there were kids on his... Because, don't get me wrong. I've loved everyone who's played Jason. They've all done great.
Yeah.
But Kane coming out of the water after being awakened by Tina, the psychic, which is essentially a Shameless Carrie versus Jason movie. He just seemed so fucking annoyed that I was like, you guys are going to pay. This looks bad for you. But then to take in John Buechler's design... Mm-hmm. Where he's all fish-eaten. There's ribs. You could see his entire spine through his back. Mm-hmm. His face is all rotten. You could see his teeth through the mask.
Yeah.
It's the best Jason design out of all of them, in my opinion. That said, you combine that with Kane's intensity and Manfredini's peculiar score for that one. Because it doesn't sound like the others. It actually sounds angrier.
Yeah.
To me, that was a next level Jason movie, in my opinion. And I'd enjoyed most of them up to that point. I think there's only one or two that I'm not a big fan of. But 7 was like, geez, probably shouldn't have woke him up. He seems really angry. I was never intimidated by Jason until 7.
Wow.
And what's funny is at the end when he's unmasked, there's this shot when they're in the basement where she telekinetically throws a bunch of nails into his face and shit. The way he grabs a nail out and throws it down and just kind of this side-eye glare he gives her, I'm like, you're going to fucking die. Like, Jason has never looked mad.
Yeah.
Because he's a blank visage. He's like Michael Myers. It's a hockey mask. How mad can he look? Whatever makeup they did for him with that rotting half-flesh face they had, he exuded so much anger through that suit that it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is Jason unhinged. And at this point, he was dead already.
Right.
So it's not even living Jason anymore. But to me, I had a weirder feeling watching 7 than I did the 6 prior.
Okay.
It was just like, this movie's fucking angry. This is an angry Friday the 13th. It's not just fun and it's not cheesy, but it's angry. And I wish to Christ we got the version Buechler wanted before he died. Because he, for all intents and purposes, the work print footage I've seen, this was going to be a gore fest. This was going to be absolutely over the top, disgusting, and it got neutered big time.
Yeah. I do like it.
Yeah.
I do. And the only thing that when I first saw it, and again, this is like nitpicky because it's like, well, he fucking came back from the dead. So, I mean,
sure.
But it was like the psychic telekinesis stuff. It was like, it felt like a stretch.
It is a stretch.
But after watching it at home, I found a different love for it.
Did you really?
I did.
Okay.
Because I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
And I was expecting the norm.
Just another hack on...
Another hack, yeah. That's it. You know, that's what I was expecting. And in the theater, I was more annoyed. I was like, well, I don't understand what's going on. Why the psychic powers?
Yeah.
You know? And it took me out of it. And I was like annoyed. But also being a completist, when it came out on VHS...
You're like, I gotta pick it up.
I bought it and watched it again immediately. And for some reason, I don't know if it was mood or whatnot, but I tapped into what you did as far as his feeling. Because there is that moment when he doesn't have his mask on and he like brings his hands out and like puffs his chest and like he's got that crazy like scowl on his face.
Yes.
I was like, holy fuck.
Well, even, I think at one point she makes the cord from the ceiling come down and hang him.
Wrap around his neck, pull him up. Yeah.
When he grabs her and pulls her into the basement, you see him grab the cord and just rip it off.
Yeah.
Like, you bitch.
Yeah.
And it was like, up to that point, Jason's just been mindless, blank killing machine. He never seems annoyed, seems somewhat curious. There's a time or two where his head will cock, like, what the fuck is that?
Right.
But he's just been a completely void of emotion killer.
Yeah.
This was the only one, still to this day, where I was like, he's pissed. I'm fucking scared of Jason now. And it only took 7 movies for me to be scared of him.
That's a
you know what I
run
mean?
to get there.
Because, I mean, as much as I love the other ones, they're not scary. They're popcorn movies.
Yeah, that's all I've ever thought of them as.
The first one's, it's just a fun whodunit. Second one, you're like, all right, we're doing it again, but there's more budget. 3, the gimmick is 3D, and I just fucking love that. It just makes me laugh.
That's my favorite one of all time.
3?
Yeah.
That's my second favorite of all time. Which I guess you could say is still a sequel that betters the original.
Yeah.
But I think the only one that I just dislike...
8?
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
But I dislike 5.
Really?
I really don't like 5.
What now?
It's annoying.
Why?
It's just probably the most annoying group of kids.
Okay.
For one. It's random as fuck.
It is definitely random.
I mean, I laugh about it, but at the same time, I'm like, did you need a scene where a guy and his girlfriend are singing to each other when those damn enchiladas make you have to shit? You know, did we need a scene where a girl's popping and locking for about 5 minutes before she gets killed? Did we need a redneck and his mom hanging out and calling each other fucker and all that. It was too redneck and too random. Plus, without spoiling it for any newbies listening, it's not a Jason movie.
I know.
You know, you'll see why.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's the Halloween 3 of that series. Very random, very weird. By the end of it, I was like, no wonder you brought him back from the dead the next time. This was a failed experiment.
And see, and that's what it's crazy is I actually do enjoy that one.
I've never liked it.
Yeah.
Now here's what's funny though. This is the surprising part. Danny Steineman, who did Savage Streets, which is one of my favorite exploitation movies ever made, seems like an ideal person to take a Friday movie. Mm-hmm. I don't think he did a good job. I feel like he went into it expecting to do more sleaze, and he did.
He definitely did.
It's definitely the sleaziest of the bunch because it's just a tit fest, pretty much. But at least with the other Jason movies, you've got a set group of characters. You kind of get to know them. This one, you don't get to know anybody.
Yeah.
And people are randomly shoved into the screen just to get killed.
Right.
Like, you got the two, I'm assuming, gay greasers. I don't know who the fuck they were. You've got the guy who looks like Moose Watson, who's like a farmhand for a day. I guess he's supposed to be a red herring. Mm-hmm. You know, it's so fucking weird. It's just a weird fucking movie. And
yeah, I get that.
I've given it a shot so many times over the years, and I'm sorry, Todd, shy of shooting him into space, it's the worst one.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But they're all gimmicks after the first one.
They are.
Because even the sixth one, as much fun as that is, that's the comedic one.
Totally.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's the Texas Chainsaw 2, Evil Dead 2 Friday movie. Jason Takes Manhattan. The gimmick was, let's get him out of Crystal Lake. And you didn't.
Right.
He's on a boat.
Right.
2/3 of the movie. Jason Goes to Hell. Used to hate it. Kind of like it now.
I've always liked Jason Goes to Hell.
I didn't like it when it came out because it was like, there's no Jason. Mm-hmm. Now it's a possession movie, which I guess you felt the same way about the telekinesis. It's just a random pivot. Over the years, I like it more because it's probably the most violent and fucked up.
Definitely.
Of the Jason movies.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And then, Jason X, I've just never been able to wrap my head around. It's too goofy, too sci-fi, too everything.
I think Jason X fell victim of listening to the fans because it had been expressed, we want something different. Give us something different. You're doing the same shit. So they did. Well,
Todd also got pushed into a corner because Freddy vs. Jason was waiting in the wing. And he's like, whatever you do, you can't fuck up Freddy vs. Jason. Mm-hmm. So he's like, so what do I do? And they're just like, we don't care, but you can't mess with the timeline.
Yeah.
So what do? You go so far outside the timeline that there's no way you can fuck it up, which is the future and space and whatever. I'm sure there could have been other ideas, but as you and I know, when they want a Friday movie, they hold your hand to the fire until it's done.
Oh, yeah.
So I do not blame Todd Farmer or Jim Isaac, I think, who directed it. Mm-hmm. Neither one. It's not their fault.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
because it's too goofy and it feels like a Babylon 5 episode.
I do get that
with Jason in it.
I do get that. Yeah, and I think obviously being a purist when it comes to horror, I still do have a certain level of suspension of disbelief.
Me too.
If I can enjoy it, if there's reason.
If you could take me for a ride, I'm down for the ride.
And I was like, you know what? I've seen him in Crystal Lake for years.
Yeah.
I've seen him doing what he does.
Yeah.
I've seen him come back from the dead. I've seen him get struck by lightning and come back to life. I've seen him come back from the water.
I've seen him in 3D.
Yeah, so I was like, well, okay, fuck, I'll see him in space. Fucking, who cares?
I think it was because by that point we'd already had Leprechaun in space.
Yeah.
But
it was a running theme during that time.
We had Hellraiser in space.
Yeah.
It was just one of those deals where I got accustomed to the idea that a franchise goes to space to die. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if this is how you're killing Jason, try again. To the point where when Freddy vs. Jason came out, I had more fun with it than I think most people did because I was like, now we're back to basics. And it's the movie we've been clamoring for like 40 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm even one, I'll go out on, I'll put it out there. I don't think the remake was that bad either. I thought it was fun. To me, it just fits in anywhere.
It's super violent.
It's not a remake.
I don't see it being a remake.
No, it's just another Jason
part of the series.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the series. It is super violent.
Super violent. I've heard people complain about all the sex in it. I certainly wasn't. Beautiful cast. But I had fun. I had fun with it. I thought it was a better, as far as those Platinum Dunes remakes were that were getting kicked out, I thought it was one of the better ones.
Yeah.
I thought it was up there with like Amityville. Amityville was a good Platinum Dunes remake.
Okay, I get it. I see where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, I have one more.
Hit me.
Not a horror film, but it is in my wheelhouse because I love this character.
All right. While you're talking, I'm going to ready my jaw for the onslaught.
Okay. And that is The Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because when I saw
Batman Begins?
Yeah. I knew right out the gate Scarecrow's a bad way to start this series.
You thought so?
I did. Not that he's a bad villain.
No, but I feel like if we were to have started with Joker again,
I didn't want to start with Joker.
Going back to the well.
I thought they were going to start with Bane.
I feel like that would have been too big of a jump.
You're probably right. Mm-hmm. You are probably right, but I wasn't...
Because Bane has not been represented properly in any form.
Not at all.
Up until Tom Hardy.
Yeah, of course. When I saw, Begins, I was like, no.
It had to grow on me. For one thing, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. And when I found out he was doing a Batman movie, I'm like, okay, let's get this back on track because the last two were fucking awful.
Oh, that's for sure.
But when I saw it, I don't know what I was expecting, but when it was over, I was like, well, you put it back on track. I'm not impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Years down the line, watching it again, it was like, I saw it with whole new eyes and was like, this makes sense. Scarecrow, Al Ghul, okay, we're going for some second tier villains, and it was and it was scary.
Had they done the Ra's al Ghul character through the whole thing and showing the origin more, I think I would have been more happy with that.
He is kind of peppered throughout.
Yeah.
In the third movie, it does kind of come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
But Dark Knight gave us a hell of a new Joker. We've talked about this before. It's Heat. It's the movie Heat with Batman.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. It's even got the same steely look to it.
I mean, I think it's the best one out of the series.
It is.
And not even because of the Joker.
No. It's a heavy storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrorism story.
Yeah.
Joker or no.
The Harvey Dent stuff.
The Harvey Dent stuff to me is the heart of the movie.
Phenomenal.
It's my only complaint about that movie is the fact that the first time I was watching it, I'm like, we're setting up a third movie with Two-Face.
Yeah.
And it just kind of resolved after about half an hour. I was disappointed that we weren't going to get more Two-Face.
Mm-hmm.
Even the design, he looks like Two-Face.
Yep.
It's the horror movie version of Two-Face. Amazing film.
Yeah. No, it is. It's great. Soundtrack, production design, makeups, the Batman suit.
Yep.
Now, I will, one day we'll have to do a show and we'll tease this and maybe we can get it going, but we should rate Batmans.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Christian Bale did a really good job as Bruce Wayne, but I don't think he was a good Batman.
Me neither. I've said that for years.
Yeah.
Whatever angle they were going at with that gruffness and all that, it just wasn't doing it for me.
I didn't like it. Not at all. No, not at all.
But a great conflicted Bruce Wayne.
Since you stole half my list and left me with nothing, I'm done. Well, so I'll just leave and you can finish the show by yourself.
It would probably be safer than what I'm about to do.
Oh my God.
Because this might open up a whole half hour's worth of...
Oh, shit.
This is going to be a can of worms.
Okay.
Dr. Sleep.
Get the fuck out of here.
Love it. Absolutely fucking love it. Yep. I do. And you know what's funny? Here's what kills me. This is what's crazy. Because we've had this talk before. Not on the air, I don't think. Not a big fan of The Shining.
You've mentioned that on the show.
Have I?
Yeah, you have.
Because I know I've mentioned it to you off the air.
Yeah,
And I've gotten the look that you're giving me now. And I've gotten that look from millions of people. I know I'm in the minority.
Yeah.
Stephen King agrees with me, and I'm fine with that. But as much dread and eeriness The Shining has, I don't feel like Kubrick knew how to make... Not that he didn't know how to make a horror film, but he didn't get King's story. He made a domestic drama out of a haunted house movie. And I didn't like that. To me, taking a strong character like Wendy and making her a wet rag for 3 hours, no. Casting Jack Nicholson, no. Because we're supposed to see a guy trying his hardest to be a good man go mad. The second we see Jack, we're like, he's got a screw loose already. You're only going to see Jack go more Jack. So to me, and this is a theory I still stand by, I wish we could, maybe someday with AI, we could see how this would have played out. I think at that time, 1980, Christopher Reeve would have been the perfect person to play Jack Torrance because everyone trusts Superman. Everyone trusts Christopher Reeve. For him to go crazy and start going after his family, that's scary because you're seeing a good man go bad.
Right.
Whereas Jack Nicholson, anyone who's ever watched a Jack Nicholson movie knows he's already halfway there. He didn't have much to go.
Right.
And to me, that was one of my biggest problems with The Shining, because it is an eerie and dreadful movie, but it never scared me. It never scared me. And then when I read the book, I was like, oh, he could have done this. He could have done that. Why wasn't this in there? Why wasn't that? And it made me dislike it even more because it was like there were so many opportunities missed that were in King's book. And then to find out that Kubrick was like mad that horror movies were being popular and going, give me something I can improve on. I feel like he went into the whole project condescendingly. That's what I feel watching it. It feels like a condescending movie to the genre. I know I'm in the minority, but when I watch it, I'm kind of like, this is coming from a guy who doesn't like this shit. This is just him going, I can do it better than these kids. And most people agree. It's not a Kubrick movie that I like.
Wow.
And I know we're going to get 5195 podcast at gmail.com. Now, when I get to Dr. Sleep, what I got to give Mike Flanagan credit for here is not only did he adapt King's sequel, he adapted it in a way that connects the things in the first movie that wouldn't exist in this book. He takes it back to the Overlook, which shouldn't exist.
Right.
Because I believe in the book it blows up, right? He brought back the Overlook almost identical. He brought back Danny.
Yeah.
He brought back Dick. It was like the perfect sequel. That movie made me like The Shining more.
Okay.
In retrospect. Just because he made it so fair to both camps that I was like, how the fuck did you do that? How were you able to please both sets of people with one movie?
Right.
And the amount of Easter eggs and shit that he put in there from that first film.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It literally looks, if you've never read either book, that is unquestionably a sequel to The Shining. We went right back where it all started and had one big last face-off with the Overlook. Okay. I've never read Dr. Sleep.
Okay.
There's no way in hell the last half hour, 45 minutes of that movie is the way the book is. Because the Overlook doesn't exist. So, to me, just as a sequel to something I know was going to divide people right down the middle.
Right.
I can't think of another horror movie sequel or any sequel in general that made concessions to both audiences the way that one did. I just thought it was so unique.
I think it's just because
so
it was two
scary.
different camps that did each movie.
They were, but the thing was, he could have completely been like, I'm adapting this book, I'm not adapting Kubrick.
Yeah.
But he did both.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you do that?
I think it was because of his love of both.
That's what I mean. It's such a genius fucking move.
Yeah.
And I think that movie doesn't get any of the love that it deserves because
I do like Dr. Sleep a lot.
It's a scary fucking movie, and it's
the only
disturbing.
thing I had a problem with, which I'm sure is explained in this, but was the vampires.
That whole plot.
Yeah, like I just like no
people who feed on. Was it fear or was it The Shine? I actually
don't remember. It was The Shine.
So that the really disturbing scene where they're fucking mutilating that baseball player.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely terrifying. he had a shine?
I think so.
Because I couldn't tell.
It's been a minute. I've only seen it once.
I've seen it twice.
Okay.
And once was the regular one. Once was like the extended cut, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't tell you what was different about the two. But I couldn't remember if every time they stabbed him and he screamed, if it was fear they were huffing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it was retaining their youth and all this. Extremely creepy plot idea and executed disturbingly well.
Yeah.
But I liked the arc they gave Danny because after the events of the first one, he probably would be pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
He'd be a fucked up kid.
Totally.
Who grows up into a fucked up adult.
Yeah, because he was a fucked up kid.
Right. And it was like, I don't know, to me, that movie was so disturbing in a way that the first one wasn't. Even if I liked the first one a lot, this felt scary in a much different way. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but it stuck with me longer than the original ever did.
Yeah.
Whereas the original, I know it sounds like I'm shitting on it. There's parts of it that are absolutely terrifying. Mm-hmm. And I do respect the movie.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel like it comes from a place of deep condescension. And that ruins it for me, because that's what we've talked about before, where I'm like, if you're not a fan of this, don't do it. And I don't think Kubrick was a fan of The Shining.
Yeah, well, I mean, how many horror movies did he make?
Right.
You know?
And that's what I mean. Like, I also feel like even if it wasn't The Shining, it could have been anything. Mm-hmm. He came into it like, well, fuck you, I can do that. And that's not an attitude to have either. I didn't like a lot of his artistic liberties with The Shining.
Yeah.
And it's not even a matter of I'm siding with the author over the critics or what have you. It's just, why did you have to make Wendy such a wet rag? Why was she such a wuss? In the book, she fucking throws hands.
Yeah.
You had a chance to have a really strong character to root for, and she just runs around the building with spaghetti arms. And it's just stuff like that where I'm like,
I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking, but I think, like, even like the way he describes Wendy in the book, I honestly don't think Shelley Duvall could have done that.
No, and that's what I mean. You probably should have just casted someone else.
But I think that's why he did it, because in reality, Shelley Duvall is the audience.
She should be. And she is. Wendy is in the book as well.
Yes.
Because she's the only one who doesn't have a gift.
Right.
And who's not being pursued by anything in the hotel.
She's just a mom.
She's just mom.
She's a good person.
Yeah, and she will protect her child.
Yeah.
Whereas Wendy in Kubrick's movie, she comes across like a battered housewife.
Yeah.
And she's not supposed to be.
No, she's definitely not.
And it was like, that was a disappointing move on my part, where I'm like, why'd you do that to Wendy? Not even Shelley. Mm-hmm. Why'd you do that to Wendy? And then Jack Nicholson, you're only going to get Jack.
Right.
And there's not much you can go with him.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Not that he doesn't have range. I'm not saying that.
No, but the facial structure, it's easy for him to go crazy.
He's intimidating.
Yeah.
And they're only there for, in the movie, a day or two before he's already slapping his forehead. And what the fuck is wrong with you? And it's like, we're already here. Mm-hmm. There was no buildup. He didn't seem like a nice guy to begin with. Whereas we're supposed to be seeing a good man broken down. Mm-hmm. And I never once felt like he was a good man.
Really?
In Kubrick's version. Never once.
See, I did in The Office in the interview.
Maybe?
I did. I felt like it was a guy who was at the end of his ropes, who was basically eating crow to provide for his family.
Because he had broken Danny's arm.
Yeah.
In both versions, whatever. Because obviously Mick Garris remade it for television, and it was the book.
Yeah.
He just took the book and was like, here's your blueprint. Of course I enjoyed that one. But you're going to have the room in a miniseries to do it correct. Not that Kubrick's movie wasn't long enough to do it. I just think we jumped too quick to madness. And to me, it sucked the suspense out of it. Whereas the only parts that do scare me have very little to do with Jack.
Yeah.
I'm scared of the woman in the tub. I'm scared of the twins in the hallway. I'm scared of Holleran in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. I'm scared of the bartender but none of it is relentlessly scary. It's just creepy. And I don't mind creepy, but I don't need 2.5 hours of silent staring creepy.
Yeah.
Because it loses its luster, in my opinion. So that's my feeble attempt to explain why I like Dr. Sleep more than Kubrick's Shining.
I mean, I think you did it. I mean, because they are all
Valid points,
very,
maybe.
very valid points. They are.
I do still think if you would recast Jack and Shelley, I would love to have seen what that movie looks like.
Yeah.
And you didn't change anything else.
Well, I mean, you hitting on Chris Reeve, I agree with that.
Especially at the time.
I do. Yeah, I do.
There's 2 Superman movies out by that time.
Yeah.
He's America's sweetheart.
Right. Well, if you remember in Superman 3...
He's bad.
Yeah.
And it proves that he could have done it.
He could have totally done it.
He could have easily done it.
Yeah, he totally could have done it.
The only thing that made me think that, partially, and we mentioned it in this episode, was Ryan Reynolds in Amityville.
Yeah.
Up to that point, Ryan Reynolds is goofy, lovable, happy, jolly Ryan Reynolds.
It's fucking Van Wilder.
Yeah. Halfway through the Amityville remake, he is a bully. He is a mean, red-eyed son of a bitch, and I was scared of him for the first time ever, and probably only. And I remember thinking, that's the key to The Shining. Mm-hmm. You have to cast someone that everyone trusts, everyone likes, and then watch them turn into a monster. That's where fear comes from. You don't cast Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely give you that, because you know what you're going to get with Jack.
Right. And the thing is, over the years, I can enjoy it as a Jack Nicholson movie. Mm-hmm. I can enjoy it as a ghost movie. But as an adaptation of King's work, I'm like, I think you missed the mark.
Yeah.
And I know that 90% of our audience is going to thoroughly disagree. But I'm fine with that, But it's a movie that if it's on, I'll watch it. I took my daughter to see it at the theater. The theater experience was different.
Yeah.
Because it was like, the Overlook is a little more intimidating on the big screen than it is on your TV,
Definitely is.
Because I grew up with The Shining on this little...
Yeah.
The Shining was always in a little box.
Yep.
Whereas you're not surrounded by the maze. Mm-hmm. You're not surrounded by all these hallways and these Steadicam shots. And I had a new appreciation for it.
I mean, I don't think I got to say how I feel about it. I mean, I got the man tattooed on my leg.
You do. And the thing is, and that's the thing. The Shining is probably one of the only movies where my opinion really gets under people's skin. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, that is a classic movie. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like...
Yeah.
Granted,
I can see why people would be upset over that.
But I'm on a podcast with one guy in the room who's letting me state my case. Whereas most people would just be like, you call yourself a fan, fuck you, and walk away.
No, but you know what? That's not fair to do. Because
you should be able to debate.
Yeah, and the thing is like your points are like, I just don't like it because of, it's not like the book. No, you have a very fucking wide net of like this, and this. If they were different, I think it would be a better movie.
I'm also coming at it from a filmmaker standpoint.
Yes,
I'm looking at it like a producer as opposed to just a fan of the book.
Well, here, I've said this in the past. It's not my favorite Kubrick movie.
No, and it's not, to me, Kubrick, I think he would have been ideal.
Yeah. Well,
but
I'll say this. If it was a different director, even with the same cast, it might have been different.
Very possible. Because Kubrick has a style that nobody matches.
Oh, he's a maniac.
He's a real maniac.
Yeah.
But if you had told me, if I was born in 1980, old enough to follow films and whatnot, if someone had told me the guy who did A Clockwork Orange is about to do Stephen King's The Shining, I'd have been like, fuck, this is going to be scary. And I probably would have been disappointed.
Yeah.
And what's funny, though, is as many barbs as I take for it, if you go back to 1980, critics dragged it. They cooked that fucking movie.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody liked The Shining.
Nope.
It wasn't a hip thing to say back then.
Nope.
Only now, in retrospect, and with Kubrick gone and everything, do people go, you don't like The Shining? The fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, nobody liked it when it came out. Most people.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with the book, I don't think. It was just a polarizing movie.
The imagery was terrifying.
Yes. And that's the thing, is if you went into it not reading anything or whatever, it's a creepy movie. Mm-hmm. But it's not the popcorn haunted house film. To me, The Shining is Stephen King doing The Haunting.
Yeah.
It's a ghost film, and I feel like it's less of a ghost film in Kubrick's hands. It's more of a domestic squabble with ghosts playing a influential part in his madness.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely the plot.
They are, and they shouldn't.
No, they should be at the forefront.
The entire movie should be this family trying to survive, essentially, Amityville, the hotel. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the sad thing is, it's so popular and it's so widely loved that people didn't give Dr. Sleep a chance.
Right.
Because I don't think it did well. The miniseries didn't do well. Most people hate it. Any remake at this point will never be able to step out of the shadow that Kubrick did.
No, there's no way.
And it's probably the only Stephen King property that you could say that about.
I agree.
Because people have remade Carrie. They've remade fucking Salem's Lot. I mean... It. And, and that's one that probably was either on par or beat the original in terms of fan.
Oh, yes.
The
connection.
Right. But I mean, yeah, like you said, it has nothing to do with the book. I read the book after the fact. Mm-hmm. I already wasn't crazy about the movie. Went into the book kind of like, let's see what this is. And then kind of going, well, why didn't they do that? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? And that was the sad thing going in retrospect. Because to be honest, Jaws is nothing like the book. And the movie is better.
Yeah.
The movie is better than the book. And that, whoever says that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sorry. Rest in peace, Peter Benchley. But Jaws, the book, was no great shakes. It's more of a economic book about how the town is
affected by this.
The shark is the B plot.
Yeah.
He is. And it's the mafia, and Brody's wife is having an affair with Hooper.
Yeah.
And it's this small town bullshit. And there's a shark.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a perfect example of the book doesn't have to match the movie for the movie one or the other to be better.
Oh, yeah.
I think Spielberg improved Benchley's book 100 times over. Yeah.
I mean, before we end the show, I'll go out on a limb and I'll say something that people will probably get mad at me about. So that way you're not taking all of the heat on this one. I think Kubrick's masterpiece is Full Metal Jacket.
See you guys. No, I'm kidding. No, Full Metal Jacket's a fucked up movie.
It is, but it's like everyone is like, Clockwork Orange, everyone goes everywhere else. Like I even have my cousin's favorite movie is or one of his favorite movies. He loves Eyes Wide Shut,
which to me was weird.
But
strange.
But you know what? His explanation of it, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it, dude.
Did you not before?
No, I didn't.
Were you with me?
I was just taken out of it. I was just like, the masks, the fucking this. Like I don't. No.
It's another movie that's more about domestic squabbling.
But after this, I'll tell you, his. His version, I was like, okay, all right, so.
But see, to me, you look at Spartacus, you look at Dr. Strangelove. Mm-hmm. The guy was a genius.
No, he was a genius for sure.
But then I'm one of those people that watched 2001, and I'm kind of like, I feel like this is just kind of artsy.
Yeah.
I don't really get the point.
It was definitely artsy.
I almost hate doing that when I go back and watch a movie that's so revered, and I come away unimpressed.
Yeah.
Because I know people who are like, what the fuck was the point of Citizen Kane? And I'm like, I like Citizen Kane.
I like Citizen Kane too.
But it's like, when I watch a 2001 or something and I'm kind of
What about Barry Lyndon or Lolita? Did you?
Oh yeah, Lolita is great. Lyndon I hadn't seen. I still haven't seen.
Okay.
But Full Metal Jacket, fucked.
That was me. When we went to the theater and seen it, we were like...
You're talking about Full Metal.
Full Metal.
Yeah.
When we left, my brothers, all of us, we were just like, wow, we just saw part 1 and part 2 in the same movie.
Wow. Yeah.
Because the whole first movie, it's boot camp.
Yes.
The first half, the second half is in the shit.
Yeah.
It's 2 movies in one,
and PTSD.
Yeah.
Deep.
It was, that's my favorite.
What's his name? Vincent D'Onofrio?
Yeah.
Fucking chilling.
Yep.
It's
chilling. That's my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
Is Full Metal Jacket.
I think mine's probably...
Even though I love The Shining and it's on my fucking leg, I still... Full Metal Jacket is just... It's a league of its own.
That was
in all of his movies.
That was his watermark in horror, though, and that's our genre.
Yeah, exactly.
So it makes
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean,
what did you expect? Because I understand we have talked about The Shining, so it shouldn't have been too big of a surprise.
you know what? It kind of was, especially in the context of it like being not as good as Sleep.
Oh, sure.
That I was like, okay. I mean, I don't agree, but your points are valid, and I do understand those.
Not just that, but to me, Sleep, you've got to respect the balls behind the filmmaker who would dare to connect both camps.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he did it successfully.
Oh, definitely. He definitely did. Yeah.
So, I mean, I even if the movie was just pretty good, I got to give him props for just having the fucking brass balls that he had. I wouldn't have taken that job.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
So.
Huge shoes.
Huge. And I was like, wow, you found a way to make everybody happy. I'll be damned.
Well, I like this segment. I think we should bring it back.
I think so too. And now that, I did stick to horror, but yeah, if we cast a bigger net, I'll put out a bunch of sequels that I like more than the original.
I think we should definitely do it again.
I think so too. This was a good one.
It was. It definitely was. Okay, well, until next time.
See you guys.